So what my topic today is going to be prefabricated products, and we'll talk about the different options out there. But to give you a little bit of my background and SteelCell's background, some of the numbers are updated from Peter's intro, but SteelCell, what's that? Why is that doing that? Sorry. SteelCell North America has provided, we are over 20,000 prefabricated units now. The last few years have been very busy. 225 plus projects. I think we're working on our 230th some odd project in the factory now, and as of very recently, to keep addressing the ever-growing demand, we've been up over 20 units a day in manufacturing, and adding another 120,000 square foot of 40,000 square foot of manufacturing space to our 120 that we already have. Certainly with any manufacturer, you want them to have CAD, BIM, and if they're building a steel product, you want AWS certified welders. We certainly have all that. We also are licensed in over 30 states to provide these modular products. I think we're the industry leader by a large margin when it comes to a prefabricated steel project. And so the industry buzz is in a lot of fields is about prefabrication now. Why? A lot of reasons, shortage of labor, speed needed, delayed projects, delayed funding, needs been there. How do we move something and move it fast? I don't know why this is doing this, but I apologize. I pulled a few quotes. Some of you saw them last year, but they're still relevant today. I think one of the neatest quotes in here is the very first one. We buy a lot of prefabricated things made in a factory that may not think about a lot, but take a car. I mean, we wouldn't buy a car and buy all the pieces and put it together in our garage at home. How much would that cost? Now, some of you probably like me and have restored cars, and we can attest it cost a lot more to build that 72 Chevrolet than it did in the factory back in the day. It's also sometimes confused with a very low-end system, and hopefully we'll dispel some of those myths today. Nothing low-end about it. It's a permanent construction. The bane of a taxpayer's life is when you see, and you've got kids, and you see a modular trailer move in as a classroom. We tend to make that connotation, but I'm going to show you some different things today. Most everybody that's in the construction industry, and we have a lot of people in the construction industry here today, know that you're looking at talking about prefabrication. What can we do off-site? How can we reduce the labor need on-site? So prefabrication is one of those very good methods to do that. I wanted to show you a brief video. We're very open and encourage you, whether you use our product or anyone else's product, is to do the plant tours, kick the tires. This is a whole lot smaller investment to create a glossy brochure than it is to invest in a manufacturing plant. And I like Joe's qualification of a manufacturer. And there are people that pose to be a manufacturer out there in the industry today, but you should be able to see products going through the process. You should be able to see employees. You should be able to see test records. You should be able to see traceable product that was manufactured there. And this is our manufacturing plant, opened in 2009, and this is pretty much the time frame when we were doing 20 units a day, and we need to sustain that for quite a while to continue to fill the need in the industry. We have about 88 employees. What's the perfect number? I don't know. Whatever it takes to get the jobs done today. And we fight the same issues that everybody does on a job site. Hard to find good qualified employees, but we've been fortunate in our area. It's one of the reasons we picked a smaller town in northeast Georgia. We had a good work ethic there, and are happy to produce this product there. But I encourage you, at any time, any of the manufactured products in this very specialty world, arrange for a plant tour. They'll all be happy to have you there. Come down and see us in Georgia, and we can talk more in depth about your projects and how this process works. But I'll end my commercial now and get on with the presentation. The cells that you see here are you know, one of many that we do. We don't have standard lines, and I doubt you're going to find many manufacturers in the corrections world today that have anything relevant or related to a standard line. So we start out with a plan review. We also, and this is usually done by a third party, we're going to design, look at your design, we're going to do a plan review from the state. We're going to do in-plan inspections. We're going to do labeling by a third party. You'll see this picture on the right-hand side. You'll see an Indiana-shaped label. There's a third party involved in any prefabricating process that will come and inspect the products to see that it's suitable to be in that state. You'll also see Georgia requires an export sticker. So pretty good process to ensure that anything prefabricated off-site is going to meet the building codes of the state and the local, and then a lot of the architectural requirements of the job. There's a lot of different ways to do prefabrication. There's a lot of different buildings. And as we talked about, this is not roll in a trailer on wheels and turn it into a building. We're a part of a permanent construction, mid-rise, slab on grade, even high-rise, and we've had quite a number of projects where we've actually repurposed building. And if there's anything greener than that, I wouldn't know it now. You're probably saying, yeah, I've got an old supermarket in town, I need a jail, is that going to work? Sometimes the answer is yes, but sometimes you need to look at that infrastructure. Remember, you're building a big hotel that's going to use a lot of fresh water, wastewater, and power, and that building may not have those resources. If it does, count your blessings and talk to us. That may be a big solution for you. The key thing in any prefabricated project is it should save you both time and money on a job. How does that work? Well, first off, let's talk about cost. We're buying in bulk. We're buying repeatedly from the same manufacturer, so it would stand to reason that we are buying at a better price than the plumber one time on a job that's in his area, or a specialty group that does 2 or 3 jobs a year trying to buy some of the other specialty components. So we're going to have that aspect. We're probably going to have finely tuned labor to do certain jobs. So we're probably literally going to be able to hang a toilet faster than a plumber can hang a toilet. We've got a factory set up and special handling to do that. We paint in paint booths. We don't paint out in the mess and grime of an active job site. So we're going to be able to do all those things more efficiently, which relates to a lower price for your project. Then the other thing, and this is kind of key to the process, is we're able to start talking some very specific details early on about your project. We're going to be asking you sooner than you're ready to tell us, how much airflow do you need for your HVAC? How many electrical outlets do you need in the front of the cell? What's your hardware schedule? What glazing goes in here? Is this color, palette work for the project? We're going to be asking that up front because as you see these 2 timelines, while you're getting the site ready, ideally we're already fabricating those prefab units. So instead of waiting for the site to be ready and then start to lay block on the job site or start to do iron on the job site or hire welders or hope everybody shows up for work, you're in the ground and we're starting on these cell building jigs. Now when things work right, your construction then has several opportunities in which you can install prefabricated units. If you were to be using a wall panel system that's partially prefabricated but used on some projects, the building, gets owned down, gets dried in, some other trades get done, and then you're bringing in sections of wall and welding them up on site. You may have a precast job, and precast has been one of the industry's, leading ways for a long time to do a prefabricated project as well. You will use those as the building structure. You will have one schedule. You will pour a slab. You will set the concrete cells there. They become your building structure. With the steel cell, we kind of fit in a lot of different places. We can come in as the first thing on the slab, and then you can build a building around it. That's not the preferred method because we've got a brand new product. The owner's paying good money for it, and none of us want it sitting out in the rain and weather. Or we can come in at different stages later. We can come in right as the roof is going on. We can come in after a lot of the building exterior is done. will leave us a small hole. I was just talking with David Burton about a job. What kind of, going to put it in an existing building, what kind of hole do I need to punch out? So you can alter your critical path to put these cells in when they make the most sense. And they make the most sense to be right in before your mechanical and electrical people are ready to go and go wide open on outfitting the rest of the cells. So you have options there. The other thing that you might not think about that does matter is we put a lot less waste on a job site. So again, back to that car analogy, if you were building that car in your garage and you got all the pieces and knew how to put it together, they all come in a box or on a pallet in package and bubble wrap, and you have a mountain of stuff left over to throw away. The same thing's happening on our construction sites. You want things to show up well packaged and not damaged. Well, that packaging is something you're going to deal with on the job site. What we have adopted is we're going to leave you the cell and nothing else. I'm going to drop it down. There shouldn't be anything else. That may weigh in. You've got a job cost on somebody's spreadsheet of disposal. So keep that in mind as you're debating conventional versus prefabricated construction. It is permanent. A building exterior picture that we've used on the right, architects in this room, project in Michigan, who would have thought that was a prefabricated job? It is. The day rooms, you see a nice picture of a job recently completed here in Indiana. This is a prefab interior. How would you distinguish that if it was from something being built piece by piece on a job site? Well, the one way is this one got done a lot faster, but the end result is as acceptable or more acceptable with higher quality finishes. Some of you that were out during break were asking what happens between cells. How do you handle that? Well, there's a detail, and you see doors. There's one door in each cell. Somewhere in between there is a jointed section that pretty much is unnoticeable when everything's done correctly. There are other things that we've started doing. The industry has asked us to look at other areas outside the cell, and I know other prefab guys are doing the same thing. But keep in mind as you're talking about a project, and if you can get some advantages off the cell part of the project, there may be other places you want to look at doing the same prefabrication scenario as well. One of the more interesting things is a modular control room. You can see this was I'm pretty sure this is an Indiana project as well. You can see us taking a section of control room, 2-story elevated control room, into the side of a building. This is prefabrication in justice construction today. You have these options, and you have a path to deliver a higher quality, faster product. Inside a partially complete job, cells are just set in place. As you can see, there's not a lot of other things going on. So in that critical path, they've got the red iron up and the roof on, the cells are slid into place, and now it's ready for a lot of the other trades to go to work. Other construction pictures, it is, you've seen the example outside, but it is a 5-sided box most of the time. It can be a multifaceted box. It can be greater than 5 sides and different shapes, as you see a control room picture going here. And, another point of note is the picture on the left-hand side. You can actually see there's nothing else on that slab. And a lot of people in this room worked on that job. There was nothing else on that slab for an awful long time, as we all know. We talked about mid-rise, high-rise, existing buildings. Picture on the right is a pretty good example of how we treat some high-rise buildings. You're seeing a partial picture here. You don't see that that's probably 4 stories off the street in some downtown area, and we're stacking them up on the outside. There have been questions about, well, how high does the interior need to be able to put these cells in? Well, if it's new construction, or if you can work it out in an existing space, we can stack them outside and roll them through the building. very fast. We're happy to say that we're experiencing installation rates of between 32 and 40 something cells a day with a trained and experienced crew. New trends and options, you know, what else can you do? We talked about the modular control rooms. Well, we're starting to see a lot of demand for this polyurea coating, or, you know, and I'll give credit where credit's due, even other systems, whether it's a stainless shower unit or a prime coat steel showered unit. We know from talking with operators, one of the banes of your existence is dealing with the cleanliness and sanitation in the shower. We've had those stories where, yeah, we've, you know, never had a health inspection where our showers haven't been written up. We got to have some solutions. So this prefab industry is going to offer you some solutions. We think ours is a great solution with a monolithic polyurea coating. In conjunction, the picture on the lower left, in conjunction with Pauly gel and accurate control, industry first, we're able to provide a rear modular control system, and it can be mounted in the chase, but we're able to do that in the factory. And what that is, won't get into extreme detail about it, but certainly talk to us. It's a huge cost savings on a job. But we're able to put some of the PLC switches and some of the COM switches in the factory along with the low voltage wiring. Not only does that save the labor on the job site, but we're also able to loop those together where we are eliminating miles of conduit and wire pull on a job. And, you know, one of the trades that we're, you know, the construction industry is struggling with now is the cost of some of the other specialty trades like an electrician. I mean, the detention industry is not the only industry busy, and those crossover, the HVAC guys and electrical guys, they're in high demand in multiple disciplines. So, you know, these solutions offer a lot. Working with Willoughby, you know, we're working on putting in more and more water management control, and I think the future is going to be putting a lot of that in the factory. So all those things are taking, you know, labor, time, money, and waste off of job sites. We don't know where we're going to go in the future. You people in this room will probably be asking us, can you do this? And we'll be evaluating it and see if we can. In the upper right-hand corner is something, we've got an example, a little different example outside, but we're starting to see also a demand for a more normalized environment for youth, for women, for transitional inmates, for medical and mental health inmates. And basically it's still secure, looks a little different, feels a little different, does cost a little bit more, but it's actually creating an environment where we hope we can attain what we're trying to do with that inmate at whatever stage he's in, whether he's you know, a youth, which we have the most opportunity probably to change, giving them maybe a little more residential feel, but maintaining security. So a lot of options there, and you'll see, if you haven't already, you can see an example, a different example out under the tent, actually on the trailer. Shower, toilet units. You know, you may have renovations in which you're just tired of the 20th coating and the, you know, how we patched up the tile, the whatever's been done to keep a shower up. You know, it may be time to break down and say, you know, let SteelCell and Willoughby work together to provide you a slide-in solution that you won't have problems with every year from now on. You know, we've got some coatings in our industry now that pretty much are a lifetime coating. And, you know, this picture on the right is from an Indiana county. I've used it every year in this presentation. You know, would you rather have a lifetime coating or a lifetime of problems? Is there maybe a little upfront cost investment here? Yes, but back to the CGL, Tony's presentation, you pay a little bit more upfront for a lot of savings down the road. So these options are there, and you might be surprised, but what I will encourage all of you to do is to keep asking those questions. I have this problem in my existing facility. We're going to build a new one. What solutions are out there? You might be surprised what you hear. These are two examples of that normalized cell environment, and you see two distinctly different cell units here. You know, one we've got chalkboards and chair rail and large ceilings and bright colors. The other, you have a lot of the same. You have some break, you have some multicolor, but the unique thing here is we've got kind of like a little, almost a bathroom area. From the perspective in this picture, it looks like you've got vision in there, but if you were out on the floor looking through the door, you've got a little privacy there. Probably needs to be an inmate that's earned that and that you can trust with that, but we're seeing this, and I think all you need to do is turn on the national news and see these trends. You know, what are we going to do differently so that we don't keep having everybody come back? Maybe this helps. This is in our factory. This is a two-story control room. It's basically, we built a small home. And then here are the interior pictures, again in the factory and then finished out. So again, you're not giving up quality of the interior space, levels of security. We're just doing them in a different place and doing them a little more efficiently from the prefab world. The modular controls I mentioned, you know, this is what's going on. This is the back plane that designed with our group. It's a simple, you know, 4 bolts, plug and play for long term. TJ, what, 5-minute replacement? TJ in here? May not be. Yeah, 5 minutes, yeah. Yeah, we've done, I think, 8 projects now, and if you want to know the durability of this, we've done about 8 projects, and we have had 1 callback on a back plane, and we got an iron worker to quickly replace it and get the facility back up and going. These are things that your maintenance crews will be able to do if we can incorporate this. And again, that coiled up wire there would connect, that you see on the left-hand picture, would connect over to the next cell. The long piece of wire, not rolled up yet, would connect down from the upper cell, and then a block of 16, 24, 32 cells has 1 piece of conduit running to wherever that remote PLC station is. That's 1 versus 96, 128, 230 conduits with wire in them. That's a tremendous savings. Talk to us more about that. We can guide you through it. The water management, not going to steal any thunder, but you know, Tony mentioned it. You're going to hear it some more. You know, you're paying a lot in operations, and you pay for water twice, and you'll be quite surprised when you find out what the average number of flushes an inmate does every day. But I bring these pictures to show you a couple of things. One's a rear chase. One's how simple and how it meshes in with the prefab system. Tony talked about in his presentation the contortionist maintenance guy. And really he was talking, in most cases, that would be a front triangular chase. And boy, I tell you what, you can design it on paper, but then when you get 8 trades in there fighting to see who gets there first, and the thing that maybe you need to maintain the most got put in first, you might be lucky if you can even remove it to replace it. So for years, we've been advocates of a rear common chase. And as you can see in both of these pictures, we're creating a workspace that is easy to do preventive maintenance. And maybe that's part of the problem. If you had a reasonable job for preventive maintenance, it could get done. Now, I'm not going to lie. You're going to need a program to tell you to do it, and you're going to need help in designing the programs. But then, once you have all that, is it doable? Well, rear common chase, as you can see, is you know, a little bit better than those triangular chase. I don't know how many people currently have a triangular front chase in their facility. All right, you people that have that, how much would you love to have this? You know, amen. It's, you know, we do different things here. We even did a project where we worked directly with the MEP guys, and we were able to bring in a double stack of cells. And you know, you may not see modularity in this plumbing, but if you look a little closer, you do, and certainly in the HVAC. So they were able to actually prefab some parts of that, install it on the cell, and then roll that cell, if you want to say upfitted with some MEP materials right on into the job. You have all these options with that. You know, and you've seen some segregated beds, 2-person, 1-person beds on the demo. There's nothing at all that should make you look away, even if you have the lower custody beds from the modular system. One of the great pictures I will use in every presentation, is this lower right-hand corner. It's the DLZ job. And it was a unique way to provide some dorm beds, which are lower cost, but provide a little bit of separation. And actually, by being able to stack these instead of spread them out over a big open room, they pulled the vision into the inmates and the supervision of the inmates in you know, a little tighter quarters. In the upper left-hand corner, you see another good idea: a sleeping room, stackable sleeping room. There's 8 beds there. There's a little bit of separation. And for managing the inmates, what we're hearing from you that do is, you know, sometimes we just got to have even if they're in low custody, you just got to have a little bit of space. And hopefully we've got a solution that you could look at there. Others do in the prefab world, but don't forget us when you're thinking we got a dormitory and there's going to be a bunch of beds in a room. That may not be the best solution or the most cost effective. So I'll start to wrap up here again, reminding you, you know, the good prefabricated manufacturers, ask those questions, kick those tires. You know, you can very easily spend a tiny bit of money here, or maybe even save money and really get some product that, if you've researched, that will really far outlast what the industry's typically provided in conventional construction. And talking about that, getting the correct product, this is very important. I show up tomorrow with a demo unit on the back of a truck, some glossy brochures, and saying the right things. Why shouldn't you let me own your job? I mean, I got a demo out here. I built one. I've got a nice brochure. I've got a business card. You know, I seem to know what I'm talking about, or at least I'm, you know, giving you the answers you want to hear. That's great. I mean, that's a great introductory part, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm not the guy, as much as you may like me or dislike me, I'm not the guy welding your cell together. I'm not the guy putting the paint on it. You need to go and see that those people exist and the quality that's being reproduced on a day-to-day basis. You can get some of that. You can do a little homework up front in manufacturer's qualification. Joe's talked about, you know, pre-qualification. There's a cell pre-qualification as well. You know, where is the physical address of the plant? What size is it? Joe, yes?
Well, Rick brought that up, because I was just looking through the pre-qualification, and I know you show all the people here, the manufacturing plant. What you don't show them is the engineering people that you have, the staff, the paint. You've invested millions of dollars in putting together a quality product. The problem I have with other companies that call themselves manufacturers is that when you get down to the end of the day, they're really not a manufacturer. They might be some kind of a fabricator. My answer would be for an owner or an architect or construction management firm, because you are going to, if you decide you're going to design a job around steel cells, you will get other inquiries from some companies. I think the pre-qualification is a great first step. I doubt they're going to want you to come see their plant, but if they don't want you to come to their plant, I would suggest you go to one of their job sites. And I would pick a current job site that they've done, and if they've done any work at all, you ought to be able to take a 3 or 4 or 5 hour trip and go see their product. And then you'll be able to, and I would, if I was going to do that, I would encourage the county commissioners and the sheriffs to go with them on the tour. So that at the end of the day, you can see if you're going to get apples to apples, or if you're going to get apples to another product. And I don't know if everyone else believes in that, but I know we found that to be almost as beneficial as going to the manufacturing plant.
Yep, exactly. And you know, and Joe's really completing that section there. you know, there's some things you can do to verify up front. In the end, nothing's going to beat kicking the tires. But before you waste the time and effort kicking the tires, you can do some of this upfront groundwork. You know, virtually every state in the country, Illinois in this area is one that doesn't, but most of the states in this country have a modular industrialized building program. And they're all different. There's a few that have a compact that are reciprocal, but generally speaking, they're all different. And even if they're in a compact, the building codes can, as you builders know, can vary slightly state to state. So, you know, being a qualified or certified or licensed within the modular and industrialized building programs would be a pretty good qualifier. If they're not qualified to provide, we have a lot of Indiana counties here, if they're not currently qualified to provide prefabricated product in Indiana, that should raise a red flag. Testing, you know, there is a lot, and I can give you a whole very boring presentation on testing. I'll spare you that. But there are several ASTM, which is a test standards organization. There's several ASTM tests that directly involve the product that will be on your job site. For us, it's and building a cell unit or a corridor unit, it's going to be a attack on the wall. Can someone beat or break through the wall? Well, the answer is, here's my test report, and you know, eventually someone can damage it, but here's how long, you know, industry believes that this should not allow any kind of egress. And technically, we have decided that yes, we agree with that's a minimum standard, but you know, for a few hours on a shift, but what if we take it to a whole shift? So we actually have tested to like a whole shift of attack on the wall. So we'll be able to give you those test reports. You can see what you're buying and what it will withstand. And nothing beats the verification of past history. You know, the oldest trick in the book in the construction world is people want references. Well, I've got 225 jobs. If I can only pick 3 references out of there, that's probably not a good thing. So maybe request all of the jobs that they have done. And importantly, Joe said current ones. You can see how they're performing on the current job. Financially sound, current status, you know, what are they doing in the industry? Are they building and growing? Are they trying to hold on? Those should be flags. They would be flags if you were doing something not in your public job, but in your private life. You know, do you go to a restaurant that, you know, you really ever only see a car or two? You know, I might not. Go kick the tires. If you have a legit manufacturer, he's going to be very proud of his investment in his or her plant. Go see it. Go spend the time. See what's going on, and you know, especially for you that are going to end up running the operation, see how it's made and literally kick those tires. I mean, you wouldn't buy a car sight unseen. You wouldn't buy a house sight unseen. You're buying 200 houses on this job. Go see what's going on. And then finally, work with your architect and design to the best uses of the prefab system that you choose. It's a completely different building if you use prefab concrete than prefab steel. You can't design to utilize the benefits of precast concrete and expect the same thing to happen with precast or with prefab steel. So design the best uses. Your architects, you as owners need to be saying, are we designing the best use of this product? Your architects know, you've selected from the group that I know here, your architects know what you're talking about, and they're going to say, well, you know, this one's lighter, we could actually reduce the foundations and save that money if you're sure you want to go with this product. So design to the best uses. Now, there are bad versions out there, and when you don't do your homework and you buy off a glossy brochure, you know, you kind of get what you put into it. And these are some just examples. We've been sent some very, very recently. Some were hey, we thought we had a galvanized cell. Why is it rusting? And this company did it, and Well, you didn't get a galvanized product. They pulled the wool over your eyes. You certainly don't have a quality coating like polyurea, and they're saying, well, okay, can you come fix this? Well, that rust line that you see on the right-hand corner, that's pretty much where the structure is to hold that whole cell up, and maybe the stacked cell above it. You know what the fix there is? You builders know. Rip it out and put in something new. And there was probably just one or two little things overlooked in qualifying a manufacturer. Where's that galvanized steel? Where is that, high-end coating? It wasn't there. Now, the other thing, the picture in the middle, this is a job that was shipping out very recently. We were provided some pictures of, and they do everything, got all kind of coatings, got nice stuff here and there, got nice fixtures in it, but for some reason, behind the toilet, they decide they're not going to coat the steel with anything. I don't know, something's a little bit wrong with that logic. Isn't that where people are, and sorry, us men are known to pee on the wall sometimes, especially inmates. That's just not, that's not thinking things through. And that's probably somebody not going to see how something was put together. Or you'd have probably asked that question, why is that bare steel right there in the plumbing area? Not a good thing. And then, upper left-hand corner, I know that to be from a juvenile facility. Who in the world would want that in a juvenile facility? Sharp edges, bad welds. Kick the tires, do your homework, see what you're buying. I don't know if anybody fools with cars, and I did grow up fooling with cars, so another car analogy, but, pretty car comes by, and somebody would want to sell it. My dad would always reach under the fenders. Anybody know what that? Reach under the fenders, see if it, you might not see, it's got shiny paint on the outside, but he was wanting to see if there was rust under the fender. If there was bumps and humps and damage from a wreck. So, go kick the tires and visit a little bit. You'll be surprised. You should be shocked if people can't answer your question, but you'll be surprised at some of the answers that defy logic. And if it defies logic, probably you need to ask a few more questions. So I'll stop there. I don't think we're too far behind, Peter, right? And open it up to any questions anybody might have. Again, I know a lot of you sweated with me out in the cell earlier. It'll be back. Yes, Joe?
Regarding fire ratings,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we view these modular control rooms and we wish we could have a fire rating because sometimes we have to have smoke barriers around. What's the future prospect of getting fire ratings on some of your modular construction?
Well, I think there are paths there. So far, Joe, and this is just being completely frank and honest, we have not, the cost to obtain that really kind of outweigh the cost benefit that we would have from going modular. We have a tough overall manufacturing requirement in detention when it comes to fire ratings, because detention needs something solid. We need a door skin that's solidly attached to the other door skin so the door doesn't warp. We need the same kind of things in our walls. And in my past history in another life with some testing, heat needs a heat sink somewhere to meet some of the higher fire codes. So they're conflicting methods. It's not undoable. It's ultra expensive because you have to build a structure separated from another structure to really have a structure that will stand while a fire is on either side of it. It's probably going to come in the future, and they're inventing all types of coatings now. We've been exploring the I can't think of the word, but the bitumescent coatings that the intumescent coatings that basically when fire or heat hits them, they kind of expand and create their own barrier. Those probably, Joe, lead us to a cost-effective solution at some point. But I could not give you a date right now on our calendar that we think that we're going to have everything in our product line available as fire rated. It's a tough haul with detention, the detention requirements and the fire ratings.
Thanks. Mike, talk a minute about the techniques you all have developed for sheltering in place in response to the IBC codes, especially in coastal regions.
Sure.
But tornadoes throughout the Midwest.
Right. One of the most cost-effective overall designs, I'll set this up a little bit, that we have in the industry right now is a pre-fabricated, pre-engineered, not pre-fabricated, pre-engineered metal building system. I mean, we use them everywhere. You can put any kind of facade on them. And we're starting, with a budget crunch on jobs, we're starting to see a lot of buildings that are the prefabricated or pre-engineered buildings. So you've got the debate, then how do you treat those exterior walls? And in some cases you're going to find where it's not exposed to the public or the inmates aren't necessarily in a rec yard anymore outside, that we tend to want to use that cost-effective wrapped insulation and corrugated metal. Well, that presents a little bit of a problem in some of the tornado-prone areas or hurricane-prone areas. What do we do with the inmates? If we got them in a building that's, maybe one of the less resistance to high winds. Well, we're able to engineer the cell product at a very insignificant cost. It really changed the install a little bit to be the actual barrier. Let the building strip away. Those cells are anchored, to a foundation. They're anchored together, and they actually can become a place of refuge during that storm. We have done we've completed several projects where that's actually been the area of refuge. If you've got a bad storm, you're expecting 150, 160 mile an hour winds, shelter in place. And that's a technique by which we're able to alter a little bit of the cell design and some of the install, but relatively insignificant cost differential. So that's, in that whole big pie of managing a jail, if you're in a high wind area, you're in a coastal area, you're going to encounter that sometime. And I think in those counties, and a couple of them were Mr. Goldberg's projects, I think the place you would want to go in the whole entire county is lock me up for a night till this storm blows through. It's going to be a safe place. So yes, those options are available. That's all for me. Thank you very much.